I see a lot of talk online about the PS Stix wood quality and characteristics, but I heard some good things about the GX1000 decks, so I picked one up for myself. Today, just going to go over my review and wear test of both PS Stix and GX1000. Now don't forget to hit on that like button, subscribe if you're not already, it really helps out the channel and it's greatly appreciated. Now after skating hockey as my last deck, I was really hooked and addicted to that full nose shape. It's like nice and full, plenty of room for your feet up there. So I did some research and I found that the GX1000 was one of the few decks that also had that really full shaped nose that I was searching for, so I ended up picking one up. The nose on the GX1000 is not as full as a hockey and FA. It's not a really big ass shovel as like the hockey is, but it's still a nice full rounded nose and you've got plenty of room, and it's not as steep as a hockey nose as well. I've been riding an 8.25. The concave is a medium, probably a true medium, maybe on the bit more of a mellow side, along with the kicks too. The kicks are that medium pitched steepness of a kick, and the fingers are flat, like a solid 2 fingers are flat, so it's not an aggressively pitched tail. I rode most of this deck's life on Thunders, which was great. I switched it over to Indies for that last little bit of last week or so. Just I was getting that little bit of razor tail. My pop was like, the timing was just falling off, so I switched over to Indies, which will shorten the wheelbase up, and it resolved that a little bit. Personally, I really enjoyed the shape. It's probably one of my favorite shaped decks that I've skated, like in general. Like the tail and the nose, it was just, seeming to like that fuller shaped deck, not your traditional pointy tail and pointy nose. Like there's plenty of room for your feet to like set up for your tricks, and especially for the tail, it just helps having a little bit more, in my opinion. Though it probably does make your tray flips a little bit harder to scoop, just because there's more board and your tail will hit the ground before you get that full rotation. But personally, that's something that doesn't really bother me too much. I was also getting really solid like flicks on my heel flips. Like my flick on the heel flips were pretty consistent. My kick flips were pretty consistent every so now and then, but personally I'm just having a little bit of timing with the popping of the tail with my kick flips, but that's a different issue, not the deck's issue. Overall, I really just enjoyed the way this deck skated and responded to like the way I skated. Now you see a lot of people talking about online like how PS Stix will lose its pop and like sort of shit itself after 2 weeks of use. Like the wood goes soggy and like I mentioned, you lose your pop. Now also I heard that like PS Stix purposely make their decks with a little bit of like give and flims in it, which I didn't notice for the first 2 weeks, but after that 2 week period in between the 2 to 3 weeks of skating this deck, other people were pointing out to me and I could actually notice there was quite a bit of flex, especially through the middle of the deck. And at this point was sort of when I was figuring out that the deck was sort of becoming dead and very quite soggy. Like the sound of the deck is just like, yeah, had that dead sound and the pop was just gone. So at this point of around 3 weeks or so, after noticing like the sogginess and the deadness of the wood, the tail, well, not the tail, I mean the nose chipped out considerably bad, like which has never happened to any other of my decks personally before, and like I only skate flat ground and some small ledges as well, so I don't know if that's like something that generally happens with PS Stix wood, but this is just what happened with this deck, so it's just that's a bit unfortunate. It didn't ram into anything, it was like literally from just flip tricks on flat ground, but this is just one of those things that sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. Sometimes, you know, it's like really odd, like reading something online that something will happen and experiencing that it actually does happen in that sort of in that time frame, and that's sort of what happened with this PS Stix wood. And personally, I've only had one other deck that sogged out within 2 weeks. But in saying all of that, the first 2 weeks on this deck, I had some really good times. The deck skated great. It's probably like at that point, it was like one of my favorite decks I've skated. It's just a little bit unfortunate that after 2 weeks, it sort of just turns to shit a little bit. And yeah, it was disappointing. I was getting really quite consistent on a lot of tricks. I was learning new tricks on this deck, and it was like I mentioned, it was skating really well. And I was quite excited too, because I was lining up another like shaped deck, the deck that was quite shaped. I was lining up a deck that was shaped quite like this, like that full nose. I was looking at either a weekend or a quasi, but then I also know that they both made from PS Stix, so that makes me a little bit unsure whether if I should try that. Because I was a little bit worried for $130 that a deck will only last me that 2 to 3 weeks, and that can really hurt. But you know what can make me feel better is liking and subscribing, because that will help me reach as many people as possible and helps out the channel a lot. Now, in saying all of that, quick overview, great shape, great deck for 2 weeks, but after 3 weeks, the asshole falls out of it pretty quickly. But have you guys ridden like a GX1000 or any PS Stix and had some good or bad feedback on these decks? Also, let me know down in the comments what deck I should be riding next, preferably something with a fuller nose. And until then, I'll catch you guys in a new video soon.